Let's talk about how our unfortunate Democrat leadership is impacting us domestically. Thanks, Joe Biden, for your press conference talking about how you're doing really, really well. Meanwhile, in this story from Yahoo Finance, L.A. freight train looting out of control as thieves worsen supply chain bottlenecks. Have you guys seen these photographs out of L.A.
It's been going on for a
these
while.
videos? Dude, the train stops to unload and like 50 guys jump on with bolt cutters, snap it open, start throwing TVs out. People are just loading them up. There's boxes everywhere. I saw one report where they were like, are you wondering where your Amazon delivery went? Perhaps it was lost in an LA freight yard. And I'm just like watching a video. There's people filming them do it. This is what's happening on the ground in this country. And you see this stuff, I got to tell you, with the trucker shortage, with the labor shortage, with the airlines freaking out, canceling flights every single month for some new problem. Ukraine, war with Russia might be the least of our worries when you don't have truckers to bring you food, when your goods being shipped by train are being looted and your supplies being destroyed. Well, we're gonna go local. I gotta say.
But just really quick, I just want to make a point. China has bullet trains. We have this. Right?
This is true. If you guys, I take the Amtrak up to New York every week for Getter, and I get on that. I'm like, man, it's basically like the Joe Biden of trains getting on Amtrak.
Joe Biden of trains.
But one of the things, if you go to the press conference, just going back to Brandon for a moment here, it was so bad when he's trying to explain inflation. He was trying to say the reason for inflation is because of the supply chain crisis. So he's blaming one crisis that essentially he's allowing to happen based on another crisis that he's allowing to happen. And it's just the swirl. But this, I tell you, this story, they were showing some images of essentially the yards where it's just all the empty packages where they've gone through and ripped everything. There's like, this entire field full
Look at these photos.
Yeah.
Look at this. Pull this stuff up.
Wow.
This is absolutely insane. I can't believe. It's just
Looks like LA.
your train's going to derail by hitting cardboard.
Yeah, that's concerning. You either need armed guards at this point, whether they're human or robot or turrets or whatever, or you need bullet trains, like you're saying, super fast trains that are enclosed, so you can't get inside.
Ian calling for auto defense turrets.
How do you
at train
defend your
stations.
Guys, this is how
expect.
Skynet started. You laugh, and the next thing you know, we get John Connor.
I mean, they used to have armed, like a guy would sit on the stagecoach with his shotgun, making sure they didn't get jumped as they were riding in the 1800s. But now we've become so complacent that we are like, hey, I can walk around without looking both ways. The world's really not that safe.
Have you ever read or seen Judge Dredd?
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to live in that world where it's like the trains are there's just layers of auto defense turrets with gun sights pointing at you as you walk past them.
Me neither. So let's build mag rail trains. Maglev trains that are enclosed. That will also solve the problem. Yeah, without turrets, turretless.
Or we just have Elon Musk build a bunch of his tunnels.
Yes.
But
they get traffic jams.
It's a synergistic company model because not only do you build the tunnels underground, then you can build the high-speed rail in the tunnels, and then we do it on Mars, for instance, where he's colonizing.
I think we're going local. One thing that we've been focusing on is we've got our own garden. We've got chickens. We love our chickens. They're silly little things. They lay eggs all the time. And so we had a homesteader on the show a while back talking about how, if you even get 1 or 2% of your food source from your own production, you're doing really, really well. And when you look at this stuff, it's not an issue of prepping. It's an issue of, let me just say, if you are someone who has watched Joe Biden speak, you probably have already started prepping. If you're someone who isn't and you're only watching CNN, I need not warn you about why you should have some emergency food or you should learn to farm or garden or get some animals. You need only watch Joe Biden speak. If you watch that man speak, just like literally, don't watch a clip, watch like a full thing of him talking, and you still think he is doing a good job and we're going to be fine, then by all means, you do as you please. But I think the average person who has not listened to the man, who doesn't know that he said once, "Truing on a shot of pressure," once they see that, they're going to be like, how many beans can I buy in one trip to Walmart? Because that man is terrifying me.
Not only that, if you watch Joe Biden tonight and you don't already own a firearm, I bet tomorrow's going to be, I bet at Loud and Guns, it's going to be, record lines out the door. Be like back during COVID.
I wonder if we can track that actually, because I agree. Yeah, I think people are going to go buy guns right now.
If this were like a militant despotism and we had a leader like that, I was going to ask, like, what would happen to them? Because right now we kind of have a decentralized system. The United States is pretty self-sufficient. We don't really need a president to get the job done. Of course, the military needs a leader, but in a country where it's like autocrat, like Libya with Gaddafi, if someone like that got into power that was like not there, what would happen? They just have him completely murdered instantly and the new president would take over. But we live in a place where it's not so drastic that that guy as the president doesn't have to be like a power monster. It can be kind of almost not there.
It's good when we have civilian leadership of our armed forces. And the idea is we have our generals, but then we elect a civilian leader who can then check them and bring some accountability. The problem is when you have an old man in a wheelchair with a blanket on his lap pushed into a sunroom and then he falls asleep and goes, "Brr." There's no one keeping any of these forces in check or organizing them or even having a plan for what we're doing.
Because when you guys are like 25th Amendment and Kamala Harris, LOL, I'm also like, no. Obviously, so what would happen? A general would take control of our country?
Look. Let me ask you something. Honest question. What would you prefer? All of this in LA or Kamala Harris locking all of these people up, and many innocent people along with it, right? This is the challenge. Some people might say, Kamala Harris is a brutal dictator type person who kept people in prison to use as slave labor to fight wildfires. Actually for $1 an hour, because these people were, my understanding is that they were eligible for parole. And she was like, no, we need the cheap labor to fight wildfires, which is basically, in my opinion, slavery. And you could have that and it will mean your train tracks are clean. But I do not like the idea of empowering someone as evil as that woman. And so it's like, then what do we get? Sleepy Joe, asleep on the job, and everything starts falling apart? It's like we're between a rock and a hard place.
So one thing, going back to the Bernie reference Luke brought up earlier, which during the campaign I'd always kind of make that joke, and I put out a meme a few times. So here's like Nancy and Kamala propping him up, and here's a Antifa flag in the background and White House burning and all that. I assumed when Biden came in to be weekend at Bernie's, but it would be essentially the hardcore libs that were propping him up. Here's the thing. I don't think anybody's holding him up. I don't even think Ron Klain or Jennifer Psaki or Spy and Susan, who's hiding out there in Kellyanne's old office. I don't think to me, I would rather go against the hardcore lefty who at least we knew, look, we hate their policies, but we know what direction they're going. We know how to fight them. We can challenge them on certain points. Not saying that I want to cede any of these things to these people, but I'd rather have someone who's a lefty where at least we can go and combat them as opposed to someone who's quite frankly incompetent.
I would rather have no government so we could actually live our lives free and prosperously in a way where we don't have centralization and control of our basic human activities that are absolutely destroyed by these plutocrats and fat cats. But
I'll push back a little bit. There's got to be some cooperation. There's got to be some governance. It doesn't. I don't mean
I would argue
boss or a cop who's going to tell you can't do things. I just mean the more you increase freedom, you also increase risks.
Of course.
I'm actually cool with a substantial amount of risk. But I think people should consider that it would be more like the Wild West.
Yeah.
Not all bad. More freedom. No one's going to bug you when you want to be on your property minding your own business. But you might get bugged by some bad people who will be more likely to be unchecked.
Yeah, I would argue that there would be less harm when people get to figure it out themselves. But that's just my perspective. But just going on topic here again, I would be sweating bullets if I was living in a major city. The situation financially is getting worse. It's only going to get worse. This is a slow and deliberate destruction of this country. And what we're seeing on the railroads is just one symptom of it. This symptom is just a byproduct of this system crashing financially. It's only going to get worse here. The larger financial ramifications of the lockdowns, the restrictions, the mandates, we're still going to feel them, and they haven't been fully even transitioned into our current state that we're in right now. Financial markets take a while to actually react to certain moves by governments. And I think it's fair to say, especially with how much we have been indebted, with how much we've been printing, that financially the situation will only get worse here in the United States. And we're going to have more situations like we're seeing at the railroads unfold in many different ways all throughout this country.
I just want to point out that those images I showed, I went on Google and I typed in LA trains, and that was it.
Wow.
When you Google search LA and trains, this is what you see. No subways, no substations, no smiling people waving with their kids boarding a train and seeing there's no husband seeing his wife off as he boards. No, it's this. All of the images, except for here. Oh, here's a pretty one. Look at that. Beautiful.
Oh, the coaster.
The coaster on the Amtrak, and then everything around it is just decay and ruin.
I took that trip once. It was very nice. It was beautiful.
Yeah?
It's right on the beach. You go from LA to San Diego.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
The scary thing is that my prediction is that Gavin Newsom is the Dem nominee in 2024.
Yeah.
And that is, so folks.
Or Whitmore.
Whitmer?
Yeah.
Well, there was
Yeah.
an article once that, and it's not just one article, but they say that California is what the United States will be 5 years later. So that what happens in California affects the rest of the country 5 years on. I hope not. I think with the pushback we're seeing thanks to the internet, that's going to play a big role in people waking up and paying attention. We're seeing, hey, Getter, for instance, an opportunity for people to bypass the censorship and maintain these values and ideas and share them. If we didn't have that and people were only able to see this mainstream narrative, then yeah, the U.S. would become California and we would all live in squalor and destruction. So long as we keep resisting and fighting for free speech and our ability to share ideas, we're going to hold that off. Thanks for checking out this segment from the Timcast IRL podcast. If you want to watch live, you can check out this channel Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. And don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, and if you want more unfiltered and uncensored content with all of these guests, go to timcast.com and become a member. All of these guests you know and love in exclusive segments on our website where we are unrestricted in what we talk about, so you'll definitely not want to miss it. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you all next time.